Welcome to the College of Fellows Voices for the Future series, interviews with members of the PRSA College of Fellows. I'm Greg Bailey from the College of Fellows. With me today is Geri Evans, who was inducted into the college in 2014 and served as the chair in 2009. Geri, thank you for talking with me today.
Thank you, Greg.
Great to have you with us. So let's start with, how has the College of Fellows of some aspect of it been important in your career and life?
So, dear friend, because my career was so checkered, for goodness sakes, I was a university communication teacher, a journalist, I was a sports editor, a reading teacher for at-risk children, Rotary leader, community volunteer, corporate PR director, VP of communications for an association. I was an agency account rep. I was solo practitioner and a presentation coach. All that to say is I had never thought about my life work having some kind of collective imprint anywhere. And so when the College of Fellows application asked me those questions, and I listened to the videos and listened to my good fellow, it was about, wow, how do I put that all together? And so really the application became a journey that truly helped me write a story about who I am and what I had done. And I would say that was so personally fulfilling and rewarding. But then as I got more involved in the fellows, the true reward has come in meeting and working with some of the finest professionals in this nation, people who care about their work and truly mankind, people who care about each other and who care about this profession. And I think that's probably the best gift the College of Fellows has given me.
Was there any one person in your career that was a single big mentor to you? Or talk a little bit about the importance of mentorship in general.
Greg, I must say that because my husband's Air Force career took us to so many places, and I would not give up one of those things, I really did seek a constant voice, no matter where I was, that I could talk to a person. And so I have to tell you, it was my dad. We were amateur radio operators together, so we could get on very, very frequently. And so I really and truly sought his voice. Dr. Philip W. Reel, he was a university professor of electronics, for goodness sakes, but he's also a community leader, a Rotarian, the school board president, the church moderator, an amateur radio operator, as I mentioned, but really most important, he was an ethical and a kind human being. And so from the beginning of my life, I was impacted by, I saw and I heard and I witnessed this gentleman who became so important to me. And then as we taught together and as we really, talked about other things together, he really was my voice and he was my mentor. And then, because sadly he died so very early, he was only 66, my brother, who's only 2 years younger than I, became my mentor. And quite frankly, I became his. And he started out as an architect, and then he moved into leadership and organizational development. He too was a community leader, a former scout, a Rotarian, and an ethical and kind human being. And so now we have great fun giving each other advice and being sounding boards for each other. So I think those are the people who've impacted me. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention my husband as well. 53 years we've talked and shared and tried to figure out this world and the world of public relations. But then I would say, as the importance of having a mentor or being one, I would say just do this, have one and be one. Have two or three who can advise and share and listen and then pay it forward.
That's great. That's great. What advice would you give someone hoping to apply for the College of Fellows?
Well, I have to tell you, I've been giving seminars at our Orlando chapter and trying to get our wonderful, beautiful, professional people involved. And it's taken a while. but here are the messages I give. Just do it. Number two, you are so lucky to have a fabulous career and multiple diverse examples to share. And most, right, most of us don't even realize that we do have that it takes someone to just pull it out of you. And then I would say, once you've done that, and then you have friendships as well as leadership opportunities are available through the College of Fellows. So it expands your entire life. I mean, if you're interested in that, and most of the people I've met really are, it's like, I'd like to do something a little more. Where would that be? Most of these are past presidents of PRSA chapters and district chairs and whatever. And like, what's next? And the College of Fellows offers so much. An answer to that, like what is next? And then, you know what? I would say it's an important and wonderful legacy to leave to your family and to celebrate with your chapter and with your profession. And I'll repeat number one, just do it.
Yeah. So another question really quickly is, were you at all surprised at how your network expanded when you joined the college?
Was I surprised?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Greg, I had no idea, Greg, what was going to happen or what was about to come. Now, obviously, as in anything, if you extend yourself, good things happen. And so, my goodness, the first time I went to my first College of Fellows, what did we have? A board meeting. I was like, oh, look at these wonderful people. And then all of a sudden we're talking, I'm listening to their incredible careers and what they have to offer. And then we're all talking about this and should we try this? And absolutely, totally stunned and also extraordinarily happy with that expansion. But I had no idea.
Yeah.
No idea.
That was a surprise for me too. Would you share a couple of examples from your career that you might have used on your application or what you would use today if you were applying?
All right, Greg already knows me that I'm not, my strength is never brevity. So I'll try to be brief. And that was one of the hardest parts about the application was, oh my gosh, you've got to narrow this down. You have to make adjectives count. You have to really figure it out. So there are three. I'll go as far as I can. And the reason I chose these three is, number one, they're so diverse. Number two, it did pull my story together. And number three, it really, really, I hope, describes the essence of what I wanted to be remembered for and what I did, and wherever footprint, however big or small it is, where I left it. So number one, and I choose number one because it was the first example I sent to my good fellow. Let me tell you, I saw that back 4 or 5 times, Gary. Hey, what about this? What about outcomes? What did you do? It was fabulous. But in the end, my first corporate PR job was, and truly my first public relations, I wasn't trained in public relations. I had a master's in speech and communication and debate and persuasion. And I taught those for many years, everywhere we moved in the Air Force. So when I moved here in Florida, my first corporate PR job was hotels, the Kessler Enterprise. And I was his first corporate PR person. He had outsourced it up to that point. Bottom line, he had just bought, just before I came on board, the Casa Monaco Hotel, which actually in St. Augustine, fabulous, but it was the St. Johns County Courthouse. And so for 2 years, the community, small community, needed to now get used to the idea that an outsider, Richard was from Atlanta, was going to come in and make a hotel, which it started out, the Casa Monaco, it started in 1888 as a hotel, but then it became a courthouse. It's lay dormant for a while, became a courthouse, and now it was going to be returned to a hotel. The suspicions ran high. I grew up in a small community. I understood it. So this opportunity, number one, I love history. So I got to do the historical research about the hotel. I mean, we even found the first menu that was served in 1880. It was so fabulous.
That's great.
And then I got to say, okay, what are going to be the roadblocks? To anticipate is, of course, one of the greatest benefits and one of the greatest gifts we can give our companies and our organization, to anticipate those problems. So it's like, oh yeah, I know. We got to go to nonprofits. We've got to involve the community. We can't just come in here and because we needed one-way variances, we needed all kinds of things to make this hotel work. And so it was just fabulous. Nonprofits we got to use as the all the retail space was emptied. We got nonprofits involved to use their space, those empty storefronts. So it was just a wonderful community opportunity. Spoke at many different places, got involved, and finally, when the construction fences went up, up in arms in the community. But Flagler College was across the street. I'd been involved in universities for many times. I went to see the art teacher. All of a sudden, the construction panels became senior art project. And so this turned into an entire community event. And I realized the power of relationships and of using all of who you are and what you've been and what you know in building a public relations campaign that was going to last. It was absolutely one of my first exciting moments. So that was my first example on my application, and I put it there again. So moving on, one of the other opportunities that I talked about, I think it was under leadership and role model at the time, leadership and activities. And that came because I was part of PRSA. When I moved into public relations in hotels, I had not, as I mentioned, I had no formal training in public relations. I'm now going to be a corporate PR, the first, and he has 7 hotels we got to deal with. I thought, oh my Lord, what am I going to do? I know, I'm going to Public Relations Society of America. I'm not joined. I looked it up and I said, what am I going to do? And I immediately went to a meeting and I raised my hand and I told them that I was the first corporate PR person and I needed help. Let me tell you, those beautiful people in Orlando, and I'm sure that happens around the country, came forward and said, let me help you. And so I immersed myself in public relations and they helped me and they guided me. And it was absolutely fabulous. And then it got to the point where we could bring PR in-house instead of outsource it. And so I really had a wonderful opportunity through PRSA. So I served locally. I mean, my goodness, if they're going to help me, I need to help, right? And so I moved up to be, did all of those offices. Started, I think, at job board and moved up to president. And then I worked at the district level. I was a district treasurer. And then I was elected to the national board. And then I served as a liaison to the UAB during a very tumultuous time. And then I moved on to be the liaison for PRSA for 2 years. Oh, I love students. Here I am back in the kind of education environment where I started. It was absolutely a wonderful opportunity to both absorb and receive as well as to give. So PRSA offered all of that. And then I could, after I got off the national board, I could become members of the college, a member of the college, and then I could serve in leadership in the college. So my example was all about that progression.
Great.
And one of the sidebars and one of the blessings I've had is that our district level had a quick start, the Sunshine District, and that's the state of Florida. And Lee and I were able to host in our home the initial quick start reception every year. And honestly, that became a signature for Sunshine District and a way for everyone to meet and be together. So
it's great.
I was able to share a gift of hospitality as well as leadership and as well as encouragement. And so that was an example that I really enjoyed sharing. Do I have time for one more, Greg?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I do. Because the other one has to do with education and poverty and giving people a hand up. And some of those sound so cliche, but that's all I can say. We did. So I was president of our Rotary Club in downtown Orlando, and we adopted. Our membership was floundering. People were wondering what we should do. And again, because of my education background, I worked with the poorest school in Orange County, Orange Center Elementary. It was behind the Citrus Bowl. And they had no PTA, they had no support. It was 99% African American or at least minority. And there was just nothing. And yet that school had rated F. And those dear, wonderful children just needed an opportunity. And I can't tell you what our Rotary Club was able to do. People really and truly got the vision. And we went from 2 projects to 27. We went from, we were able to find grants for a choir. We were able to marshal the community and the resources of people within Rotary and those others that they knew, how you can just keep expanding. And people had a vision of helping us. That school went from an F to an A. It received national recognition, as did our Rotary Club. And I feel that was just another part of my journey, and was just all due to the idea that you just continue to need and want to serve mankind wherever you are.
Right, that's terrific.
So those are just some of the things I remember.
That's wonderful. What advice do you give young professionals?
Well, that has been really, really fun, because there have been so many in my life, and it's like, oh my gosh, they are a lot younger than I. Number one, no matter where I speak, it's always about be present. Turn off those phones, look up, and be present, because you have no idea what opportunity or what learning moment is going to happen. Even if it's a failure, you're going to you'll learn from that. And if it's success, you can celebrate it and learn from that. So I really and truly encourage them to just be present wherever they are. With that comes an attitude of next time, as opposed to not if only. I've seen so many people wallow in, oh, if only I'd done this, if only I'd done that, if only this had happened. Oh, no. No, you reframe that, as public relations folks are great to do, and that is, next time I'll do this. Next time I'll think about that. Next time I'll ask so-and-so. So just always be present and look for that learning opportunity. And then, because I love quotations and I use them all the time, 3 of my favorites. Woody Allen's 80% of success is showing up. And I think that is going to be continually important. I think we have some post-COVID behaviors that probably are going to take a while to be reversed, but I would say we need to continually remember to show up and be present. And then Einstein once said, try not to be a person of success, be a person of value.
That's
and
great.
I think that just says so much. And lastly, the one that I have always loved, because I've been pretty risk averse at times, and that is Wayne Gretzky, and that is, you miss 100% of the shot you don't take. And so the answer is say yes, give it a try, show up, be present, and you have no idea what world will open up to you.
That's great. One more question, and that is there something we haven't talked about that you'd like to share?
I really would. And I would do that because, I'm sorry, there's, the phone is just rung, but I just recently, my husband and I just recently had a whole life change in that we've moved into a senior community. We're in independent living, but it also has tiered levels of care if we ever need that. But it was time for us. And so that has really, as I've looked around at these amazing people, there are about 250 independent livers or residents here. But oh my gosh, like the head of the resident council, 88 years old, retired brigadier general. The head of plants and operation committee is 85. And I've watched people who have continued to embrace life, who have continued to keep their minds sharp, who continue to believe that you have to fight for what is right, and you need to be, visible and vocal and offer solutions, not complaints. And with that, the other thing I've noticed is how many people still, even though I got to tell you, I could do my Lord, 8 hours a day could be filled with things that would make my life more fun, from creative coloring to sweating with Helen to water aerobics to whatever. But in the end, when I listen to people, there still is a desire to give back, to feel worthwhile, to take pride in something outside of themselves. And so I really think there are a lot of people asking all over the world, certainly here, is that all there is? And so I excuse myself from creative coloring to meet with my mentee this morning on Zoom. And it was fun to plan this afternoon around this interview. So I think it is critically important to have something outside of myself and outside of my own pleasure. I really believe that there are opportunities. I know not all fellows have continued, as members and for whatever reason, but I hope that we'll continue to find and encourage everyone to really tap into a deep-seated need to give back. And I do believe that's present in almost every person I've ever met, Greg, and I certainly see it in this community.
Well, Geri, that's wonderful. And thank you for joining us today, and we appreciate your time. Have a great rest of your day.
You are so welcome.